Tisha from YoungFinances.com. How much credit card debt is too much? Today I'm going to answer that question, but before we get into that, we need to think for a second. Is this really the right question to ask? Are you wanting to know how much credit card debt is too much because you feel like you have this weight on your shoulders and you just can't handle the credit card debt anymore? Well, that's what we need to do. We need to make sure that we're in the right frame of mind before we evaluate the type of credit card debt that we have. So there are two types of debt. There's good debt and bad debt. Obviously, there are a lot of people who argue over this, mostly in the personal finance world. Some people say that there's no such thing as good debt. All debt is bad. Others say that yes, there are such things as good debt. Good debt is called leverage. You can use good debt to propel you further the same way that leverage does. I personally believe in good debt. I think that using leverage is a great way to propel yourself further than you could on your own. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's think. How much credit card debt is too much? Well, if your credit card debt feels like it's weighing on you, you have too much debt. Think about your mindset. The second thing, if your utilization ratio is high. I've talked about this before in a previous video on using credit wisely. And a good utilization ratio is anywhere between 10 to 30% of your available credit. So if you have credit cards and you're using 50%, 70%, up to 100% of your limit, that's not what you want to do. You want to make sure that you're using 10 to 30% of your credit limit. That's how you know that you're not using too much credit. Another way to know if you have too much credit card debt is by using something I like to call the 28% rule. The 28% rule states that your debt should be no more than 28% of your income. So if you make $1, you should owe no more to anyone than 28 cents. If you owe more than that, you have too much debt. And finally, do you feel stressed? If you feel stressed and you feel like you have way too much debt, then you have too much debt. It's very simple. In order to start paying down your debt, use a few simple rules that you can find at YoungFinances.com. At YoungFinances.com, you'll be able to sign up for the newsletter and become an insider on my private list, where I share information that I don't share on the regular blog. Also, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm making new videos just for you. In the meantime, it's time for me to go make sure that I don't have too much debt. Bye!